Thank you, everyone, for joining us here today. We know that you have a choice on how you spend your time during the day, and the fact that you have decided to be here with us today. Thank you so much. We have a great panel today. I mean, I am so excited about this panel. I mean, everybody that was scheduled to be here is here, and it's just an outstanding topic. And so, without further ado, I think it's important that we start introducing some of our panelists as we go around. So, why don't we start with Hey, then we'll go to Gladdy, and then to Gretchen, and then we'll come into the room. So, okay, please introduce yourself, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Jana. It's great to be back on the show. So my name is Kay Coté. I am an artist. I am a founder and an owner. I'm the founder of Amplify EDM, where we help artists reach their greatness through storytelling and through artist development. So it's a two-part business. I help artists with their marketing, referring to artists. I'm in the dance music space. So EDM, as you know, or maybe it's new to you. It's a very fun electronic genre of music. So I specifically work with artists in that genre. So I help artists with their PR. I help them with their marketing. I help them brand themselves. And I have a course that I provide for that. And then I also have a podcast called Redefining Music, where I interview headliner DJs and breakout artists and to share their story, their artist story, and share knowledge with up and coming artists as well. So that's a little bit about me.
Great. Thank you, Kate. And Gladdy, before we go to you, if I forgot to ask everybody, please tell us where you're joining us from. It's always fun to see that where people come join us from all across the United States. And we've always seemed to have an international audience as well. So it's always really exciting. So please put into the chat where you're joining us from. We really appreciate it. I know that Gladdy is probably coming the furthest away today.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm in Philippines right now. So yeah, I'm the farthest away from all of you. And good morning, everyone. My name is Gladdy Ardon with Minifi LLC. I work with Jana. I'm an executive virtual assistant, marketing assistant, and web developer. I help business owners manage and grow their businesses by supporting them with digital marketing, websites, social media, CRM, and day-to-day administrative work.
She is absolutely fabulous, and nobody else can have her. In fact, this year we've already grown to, do I dare say it, 4 times last year's revenue. And a lot of that is contributed to Gladdy with her keeping up with our CRM and everything else and keeping me in line. And yeah, and I do need that all the time. So yeah, so this year we've been very successful, and Gladdy has been so instrumental in making sure that that has happened. So thank you so much, Gladdy, for being here and sharing how we've been having our success as well. And Gretchen, we're so glad to have you here.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be back. I enjoy being included in these. I'm Gretchen McCord. I'm the founder of a fully remote all-women law firm, law offices of Gretchen McCord. I am in Central Texas, about an hour, almost an hour and a half outside of Austin. But all my staff, I'm the only one in Texas right now, so we're spread out all over the country. And we provide primarily two different types of services. One is trademark protection, but the other is fractional general counsel, which I think is really more pertinent to probably my role here on this panel today. And in that role, we support small to mid-sized businesses and whatever their legal needs are. So it's kind of like being a primary care doctor for your legal needs. My background before I launched the firm 16 years ago was primarily trademark and copyright. So I have that copyright expertise, which will also be relevant for today's discussion.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Jason.
Hi. It's good to hear about the 4 times revenue. We'll talk about my appearance fee to be on today's show. So,
Oh, no, that means I have to do my trade.
yeah.
I got that. I got your email unread.
Okay.
So that because you said send it to me.
Right.
And I was like, I got to send this to Jason.
Okay.
And I haven't done it.
Okay. Well,
Well, you know, I have a
don't follow her advice, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm Jason Blair. I am also a trademark and copyright attorney like Gretchen. I don't do the fractional general counsel type work that she does, but my firm is Neal and McDevitt. I'm originally from Indianapolis. There's a lot of flooding and everything going on there. So if anybody's from that area, I hope you guys are doing all right. But I'm currently in Bee Cave, Texas, here in Austin. Yeah, this just sort of a fun fact about me is I have triplets who just started middle school, and so life is crazy. We got all of a sudden trombones and violins and all this other stuff we never had to deal with before. But yeah, I still made time to be here, and I'm glad to be here today. So,
And Kay, you and Jason have something in common, and it's called music. Jason, he was not a newspaper delivery person in high school. He sang it in
Branson, Missouri. Branson, Missouri. I used to sing as a kid for the ball numbers there, and then I went to UCLA and had a band, and that's kind of what got me on my track to entertainment and IP law. So it's interesting, and I have a lot of fun clients now. I do some work with some major acts, represent the Houston Rockets. So there's a lot of fun entertainment aspects to it as well. So,
and he has an IP lawyer band, which immediately people are going, Snooze Fest, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
no,
but
it's
they're really good.
It's really good. Our band is called The Opposition. We play every year at the International Trademark Association meeting twice a year. Our next show will be in Scottsdale. Our last one was in London. We had about 4,000 people show up, and it's funny because people come to the show and they're like, "I thought you'd be good for attorneys, but you're like actually good." So
Real musicians.
yeah, so we only play twice a year because we have trademark attorneys from all over the world, like our drummers from Chicago and our bass players in Austria. So we're all over the place, but we play twice a year called The Opposition. So if you're ever look it up, come check us out.
Jason, we'll have to connect because I would love to show you to someone, like maybe introduce you to some of my artists who are getting their careers on the ground. So yeah,
Yeah,
would love to.
excellent.
Oh yeah, that'd be perfect.
Okay.
Because you can speak their language.
Okay,
Kind of like I'm an entrepreneur and I can talk about entrepreneurship.
yeah, all right.
That's all I can talk. I'm really boring. But Martha's not.
Try not to be.
And I don't know if you can see our table, but we have all these wonderful things here.
Merchandise.
Merchandise.
Merch.
We've got all this, and it's all for Menifee LLC.
I'll hold it up so they can see it more on the camera. You guys
Oh yeah.
see, look, it's got her logo. I don't know if this is reversed or not, but it's got like her brand.
No, that's right.
Everything's got her branding on it.
I know it.
Yeah. Anyway,
And Martha and Gladdy did this.
Gladdy did the hard work. I just bought everything. I just spent the money.
It was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is fun. I am Martha Kerber. I live here in Austin, Texas, and I work for a full service promotional goods company. And we can help with branding. We can help with internal or external customers or service awards, employment, retention. People like to be appreciated. Sometimes they like to get a tote bag and help you with all aspects of your branding.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you did my tablecloth too.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that looks so good.
Those are great to have.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Anytime you show up and you can just put it over
I know.
coffee,
I know.
lunch, tea.
But we should have a QR code that goes to you on it.
Oh, you're very sweet. I'm gonna get a lot of referrals from you. I feel very confident.
Well, we should do that. Can we do that anyway? Put it on my table, like a QR code
Absolutely.
or
Most people
something?
don't, but yes, I can.
No, I think we should.
You're very kind.
No, I mean,
We can talk about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do that. Oh,
Not required.
all right. So now, Bill, is this your first time with us?
Yes, first time.
I'm so glad that you could join us this first time.
I'm Bill Thompson. I'm with the Small Business Development Center here in Austin. I live in Georgetown, Texas, about 30 miles north of here, and I'm Associate Director and Senior Advisor.
Right. It only takes you like an hour and a half to get to work
About 30, 45 minutes
some days.
on the
Yeah.
call.
All right. Well, and I'm Jana Menifee, and I'm with Menifee LLC, and Gladdy is my right-hand person that works with me. Just so glad she joined us back in, it was the week of my birthday, Halloween, that she joined Menifee LLC, and she's been just so great, just an awesome member team member, and we're so excited to have her. So I'm really excited about having everybody on this because today our topic is public relations and brand management. So we're going to be looking at this topic from so many different types of aspects. So anyway, so I do certified business valuation. So I do business valuations whenever it has to go to a third party. Like if you have an estate, you're trying to it needs to do a business valuation that goes to the IRS. If you're getting divorced, either from your wife, husband, or your business partner, I can do the business valuation as well. And I love to go to court.
Somebody had a question.
Yes.
Can we visit with the SBDC in Austin in person?
Yes, you can.
So just that QR code that Jane put in the chat, just I think go to that and you can set up a time in order to come in. And I think Jane will probably correct me in the chat. She's very good at that. And she's watching the whole time. Okay, so let's get started. Let's start with what is a brand? So Gladdy, when someone comes to you, I know I'm shocking you, you're like, what? First question to Gladdy. So Gladdy, people come to you and you're a brand specialist. When they say I need help with my brand, what does it they really mean? What does that mean to you? What do you say to them?
Well, I think when business owners say that, they usually think about things like getting a new logo, redesigning their website, or making their social media look better. But most of the time, the problem is actually bigger than that. What they actually need is clarity and consistency. They need to figure out what they want their business to be known for, who they're trying to reach, what makes them different, and how they want to communicate that across their platforms. From my experience working with websites, content, SEO, and social media, I've learned that you can have a really nice looking website, but if your message isn't clear on your social media and your social media messages and your website looks completely different, people can still get confused or lose trust. So before changing the logo or redesigning everything, we have to first ask, what do we want people to think about when they hear our business name or our brand? And once we know that, then everything else becomes much easier to build around it.
And I got to brag about Gladdy. We had our first chat GBT referral that somebody found Menifee LLC from chat GBT because they were looking for a business valuator that had done insurance companies. And we had been posting about it on LinkedIn, and that's how they found us. So what about you, Martha? You were starting.
Well, I just think it's interesting with brands as I deal with a lot of companies, and you'll talk with the company owner and they'll talk about what their brand is. And while it's true that when you have a trademark, you have a brand, you are sort of the owner on the registration certificate, but you also have to remember that trademarks are also a consumer tool for identifying consumers. So a lot of times I find that there's a little bit of a disconnect between what a company owner thinks his brand is, because you can sort of steer the public, but you don't get to dictate it in a way. So in a way, there sometimes is a disconnect between what they think their brand is and what their brand actually is, because what the brand is truly is what are the consumers thinking about. And that's why I think Gladdy's right. You have to be consistent in your messaging so that there isn't confusion. There isn't, because so many times you'll talk to people, oh, that, our brand is quality and whatever. And then you're just like, I don't know if consumers think you are quality, and so you have to realize there's almost like a shared ownership. That it's an odd thing in trademarks, in that the brand owner, we refer to them as the brand owner, but the consuming public also kind of has somewhat of an ownership stake in a brand, because it really ultimately is what they say it is, not the company. So
you run into that at the SBDC, right? People will come in and say, yeah, I'm quality. And you go, oh, let's look at your social media. Oh, you've been making a lot of mistakes. What are you doing about quality, right?
Well, most people that budding entrepreneurs come in, they don't really understand. They have this misconception that if I build it, they will come and everybody's going to buy my product.
Field of dreams.
And it's like, it's not going to work that way. And so they really don't. I mean, your branding is like a cornerstone of your marketing because it's like you guys said, it's got to be consistent. So that's the first hurdle that we have to have them overcome. And it's, I'll, for full disclosure, I started a business with a wonderful business partner, and I used 4 letters for my branding, and the first 2 were SS. And a friend of mine pointed out that SS historically has a really negative connotation. And I was going, ooh, how do I change that once I started it? So it's really important to think it through before you print your
Because
business card.
You couldn't remember what they stood for. It was strategic, successful.
I remember what it stood for, but if you historically, there's another connotation out of history that's not so hot.
So in case anybody wonder who that partner was, I think I just disclosed
Yeah,
it.
yeah, we used to be business partners.
All right, so hey, let's jump over to you. Like, some people come in there and they're in the music industry and they go, they talk about their brand. What do you say to them?
Oh, definitely. For me, all of these things you have mentioned so far are part of what I also believe is branding. What I add is the storytelling component. Like, how are folks connecting with their audience and sharing their story? Because if you think about a brand, nowadays, people fall in love with people. So being able to share your story is really what's gonna bring that awareness and growth to your brand, because especially as an artist, but this can be a founder who's the face of their company trying to grow their social media. It can be a DJ, it can be whoever, but to be able to have that genuine connection and sustainability and holding someone's attention, the storytelling and being able to share that is a huge component of the brand. And that is something I work on developing with my artists, because some may want something much different than the other, but it's really, how do we uncover what that is, what kind of I call it their nest. Like, mine would be my K nest or your Jana nest. So you're like, what makes you unique? What sets you apart in whatever industry you're in? So yeah, that's what I do for branding, is really uncovering the deeper meaning and then how to communicate that with their audience.
Gretchen, I see you shaking your head. What is it that what's your thoughts? But you got to unmute first. You got to unmute. Gretchen,
We can't hear you.
unmute.
Type it in.
Sorry. I was making noise outside, and so I tried to mute myself. I mean, I did mute myself. I was just nodding my head like everything everybody just said. We've been working with small businesses for 16 years, and I mean, yes, everybody thinks they have this brilliant idea that's so brilliant it's gonna, immediately become the biggest thing this year. And there's something to it, but it doesn't, everybody who starts their own business starts at believing that. So just, it's not that easy, for many reasons. And the storytelling component that's something that I think it not only does it really set you apart, like Kay was saying, but it helps people connect with you. And this may vary depending on, the type of what your product is. Is it a product? Is it a service? Is it really consumer good? Is it very personal? Is it not? But this is something that I see, that we and my colleagues in business to business services, I just see everybody kind of, it's almost like it's a continuing struggle. How do we tell our story in a way that connects with people? So I'm nodding my head because, like everything, yes, absolutely.
Martha, when we started coming up, we wanted to do like these promotional items. You were very, what's the right word? I mean, you asked questions so that we selected the items that they really reflected the business and reflected who we were going to. So could you go through the process of like what you do when you're talking about the brand and helping people pick out? And these mints are so great.
Yeah, that's a good product.
And they have the QR code that you
Suggested, yeah.
on the back.
So just how a small business owner or a large business owner is going to identify who their customer is, what the ask is, then I'm gonna ask those same questions to identify who they are, to see who their customer is, what if they're going to a trade show or if it's just their salespeople. So is their salesperson meeting in person, or is it, they're meeting in a giant conference room with the whole company? So it depends on how you're getting in front of your customer, what level of your customer is. Are you meeting with the president? Are you meeting with the sales staff? So just more direct. I'll give a pen as an example. Nobody should be writing with a pen that isn't excellent. If you're writing with a pen that's skipping or terrible, throw it away, because there is a pen out there that is amazing. If you're a bank or a title company, maybe you want a pen with a little bit of heft, because your people are signing very important documents with a lot of monetary commitments sometimes. But if you're the car wash and everybody's just signing the tickets really quick, maybe a pen that is disposable, faster, that people can keep in their car. So it's just who your end customer is, how your product is going to be used, and the event. Is it a event? I also want to point out that sometimes small business owners forget to take care of their internal customer. They're a smaller company. Employees love to be recognized and appreciated. So service award programs or retention award programs, those are nice and easy to accomplish with promotional goods, or something to acknowledge them with. At the holiday, we do a lot of finance bro vests for or companies for jackets, or some sort of appreciation internally as well as externally. So don't want to remind people to remember all of the people that they're in contact with.
How do we? No, you did. That was great. I mean, yeah, because I was always so impressed about you really were looking at. So I got this because I'm going to be sponsoring the Texas Association of Business Brokers state conference this year. And when we were talking about what promotional items to get, you were really looking at who are the people that are going to tab, who are going to be the people attending the conference, what type of things might they want to take away with them so that they remember me.
Sure.
And so you really thought that through. And so instead of me going, oh, I like this, I like that, it was like,
let's focus it. Get it dialed in.
Right.
Yeah, the right channel for the right people.
Right. And so I thought that was very impressive when we worked with that. All right. One thing we didn't bring up yet. Yeah, go ahead.
I find it very interesting that it really is a difficult thing for people to not put their own preference on what really maybe the market needs. Like, we even find that when the opposition band performs, what songs are we going to play? And everyone's like, boy, there's this REO Speedwagon B-side that's my favorite. I'm like, okay, that's your favorite, but we're playing to 3,000 people. 10 people are going to know that song. We shouldn't do that song. We should, and then the flip side, I play songs that I can't stand. Love Shack by the B-52s. I'm sorry, I hate the song, but we play it because the crowd loves it. And I'm sorry.
Because you're the only person in the world that hates it.
What I'm saying is, you put the thought of your market ahead of your own preference. It's very difficult. It really is. And these are all trademark attorneys who deal in marketing, and even in our band, we have a hard time putting our own preferences ahead of that. So, when you said about what are the people at TAB going to want, not what you want. Right. And I think that's something that you have to think about. Right. So, yeah.
Yes.
There's a really good book that I read like maybe close to 10 years ago, and I can't remember the title of it, but it's about exactly that. It's, you as your expert in your industry, you see where there's a need, but that's not being met. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the potential consumers, the people that have that need, they don't necessarily recognize that they're missing something. And that is what is so hard to get your brain around as the person who wants to fill that need. And I'm kind of skimming through my Amazon orders to see if I can find that book. Hopefully I can either find it or it'll come back to my brain before the end of this session, because that's an excellent, excellent point Jason made.
Oh, great. Thank you, Gretchen. I really appreciate it. And then we can, if you don't find it during this session, we'll go ahead and email it out later, because at the end of all this, we're going to be sending out everyone's contact information to everybody that has attended here today. So we will send out any of that information. And I do take notes. So if anything is mentioned, we try to bring that up. All right. So all right. So I'm a financial evaluator, business evaluator. So I'm always looking at it from a monetary standpoint. So brand has a value, right? When I'm looking at a business evaluating it, I'm looking also to see what their reputation is. What is the brand worth to it? So how do we decide that? So from your perspective, I'm going to ask everybody, how do we value a brand? How do we monetize that? And should I start with you, Bill? And so we can give everybody else a chance, or
Yeah.
So how do you monetize your brand?
because it's worth it does have value.
Well, you think about Nike and the value of that brand, or Coca-Cola. I mean, those brands are, what are those brands worth? So it is worth a lot. And I've never thought about it as far as how to value the brand. But yeah, it is.
I can tell you as a trademark attorney, and I'm sure Gretchen deals with this too, is, a lot of times when clients come to us and, they've got an infringement action and they're wanting damages or whatever, their first question is, well, how much am I going to get here? And that is always, I think, the question that baffles everybody when it comes to trademarks, because it's not something, even with like a patent, it's like, oh, you sold 10,000 units of this, your profit on a per unit basis was $3, whatever. So trademarks it's so varying. I mean, that's why we rely on people like you, Jen. A lot of times when you have these litigations, it's less about was there infringement, it's more about, okay, what are the damages now? And that's where a lot of these litigations can get very expensive, because you're hiring an expert and they're looking at, lost sales versus improper sales on the other side. And it's so different from mark to mark. Like you said, a Coca-Cola, obviously that is their brand, because I tell everybody, you go into a store and, Publix Cola and HEB Cola and Wegmans Cola, depending on whatever area of the country you live in, it tastes almost like Coca-Cola, but you're buying that brand. But a lot of other companies, if your brand is just, Central Texas Plumbing, it's probably not worth that much because you're in Central Texas. It's just sort of a descriptive term. So it really is something that even we as attorneys struggle with. And that's usually the question when a client asks me, what is this worth? Where I'm just looking at them sort of glassy. I think we do a lot of, we try to get consumer surveys, but they're not cheap to run those type of things. So
Jason, why don't you talk a little bit about what can make a trademark a valuable brand, that like strength of the
Right.
trademark, but also consistency of use, that kind of thing.
Right. Well, a lot of it would depend on, how long the mark has been in use, how widely recognized it is, and then also how distinct the mark is. So we have sort of a line of distinction where you think about, I think the classic example is like Kodak. You've got a brand where Kodak, when it first came out, it didn't mean anything. It was a made up word. Now, a company, when they're creating a brand, can go two ways. If you pick a name like Kodak, it can be distinct, but when you first start, nobody knows what it means. You have to go out and spend a lot of time and a lot of money educating the public what Kodak means. That company could have named itself the, Rochester, New York Film Company or whatever. That would immediately tell consumers what you are. So it's sort of like a shortcut to give consumers information about you, but it's not a distinctive mark. It's just because it's geographic. You can't limit. If there was another film company that opened up its doors in Rochester, New York, they're going to be able to say we're also a Rochester, New York film company. So then all of a sudden you've got less distinctiveness in your brand. And so there's this sort of, it goes from sort of, made up words. And then there's sort of what we call arbitrary words, like Apple for computers. Before Apple came out, Apple had nothing to do with computers. And then you move down the line to more distinct, less distinctive terms. I would say like, if it's like microtech or something, it's a little more suggestive. And then, just down to, processing unit computer, more of a generic term. So you have this sliding scale of distinctiveness, which if you can pick one of those more distinctive terms, it gives more value, but you have to put a lot more investment in it because consumers won't immediately associate an Apple with a computer, but you spend the time, you're successful. Now, all of a sudden, it's a very, very distinctive term. And anybody else wants to start a computer company with a fruit in it. I guarantee you, if you're the orange computer company, Apple might have a problem with you. And so you've got a broader scope of protection. Whereas if you were just the, Northern California computer company, somebody else could be the, Silicon Valley computer company. You're not going to have rights against them because it's a narrower scope. So there's a lot of aspects that you look at there when determining. And obviously, if you've been in business for a year, you probably haven't built up all that goodwill. But if you've been in business for 25, 30 years and everybody recognizes your brand, then yeah, it's a lot more valuable. So.
Hey, what about in the music industry?
So this is a great question, and this is something a lot of artists and as brands struggle with too, is that putting that value, giving themselves the value right away. Like I always tell artists, value yourself not for who you are today, but who you want to become. Like, what is your goal with your music? And this is, this can be for any brands, especially creative brands too, is like, because it's intangible. Like it's there's not like a product, right? The product is the performance. Sometimes there's physical products, yes, like t-shirts and CDs if those come back, which we're hoping they do. But you are the product. So you have to think about, you have to be able to like put that value, like value yourself for where you're at. And that means taking care of yourself. Again, this goes back to the IP and like understand when you're building a collaboration with another artist, you have to like value that. Like that song is created art that is copyrighted. Take the steps to invest in that value. Invest in yourself to be like, treat yourself like the artist you want to become. So I always try to encourage them also, value yourself when you're performing, playing for free is something the music industry, there's a lot of that going on. And it's like if you think about going into a restaurant and then wanting your dinner for free, like you don't do that. But with creative arts, that sometimes becomes a slippery slope to get into the habit of, oh, I'm playing for exposure. Well, that's where I think that creating that value for yourself, even if you don't know what the number truly is, I think a lot of us don't. Like, we don't know what we can become until we're like really going there. Yes, we can have goals and milestones and things to get there. And some businesses can structure that way more. But an artist, there's a lot of like fluid, there's a lot of movement there. Like, so I always say value yourself, at least believe that value in yourself right away, even if you're just starting out, if you're a bedroom DJ or you're singing karaoke on the weekends, like if you take yourself seriously, create that value in yourself right away, that's going to set you up for success mentally as you're reaching your goals. So I always say value yourself high as an artist, uh, and really take into account like when are you expending yourself too much for free gigs here and there or free exposure. So that I know that was kind of a little bit of spin on the question, but that's how I like to set up artists for success right away is like value yourself. You have to put that value on yourself, believe in yourself before anybody else is going to.
So Jane has a question that I think I'm going to jump to Martha and Gladdy to answer. What are some of the colors of brands? Is there a trend with colors that's going on with branding?
I haven't seen a trend. I mean, red is obviously a very popular color. Like Target is red, Coca-Cola is red. I don't know if it's popular. It's just they're often a very recognizable color when it is used in a brand. But I'm seeing, from a small business to a big business. So I haven't seen a trend for a color. I think there are some regional colors that I see. A lot of them will have to do with the major already established business or the university in the area. So there are trends that become regional because of kind of what's already anchored there. And then people build off whatever that is kind of happened in the area of success. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't, it's all over the board for me. And I love it. I'd rather see the variety instead of seeing everybody trying to repeat the same vibe for, possibly something that isn't even connected.
Gladdy, do you see like trends of color like in industries like finance or banking or social media? Do you see that when you're working with clients?
Most of the time, yes. When it comes to their websites, most websites are usually using blue color because they think it looks more professional. I mean, there's no really universal correct color for any particular type of business, but most of the time people use lighter color, easy on the eyes. And if they want their logos to be more like emphasized, they use dark backgrounds and stuff like that, based on my experience.
Generally, it's weird, but we've seen in trademarks that the first player to a new industry tends to pick red. And the other interesting thing, I was reading a book on linguistics one time, and the guy was saying in every major language, the first color that gets a word assigned to it is red. It's weird. It's just something about red in our brains. Like, like the first word in Russian for a color was red, and then they kind of branch out from there. So and if you think about it, a brand is a language in a way. They say that kids recognize trademarks before they recognize words. I mean, as a kid, you can pick. I know when my kids were like 2 or 3 years old, they could tell that was a Cracker Barrel or that was a Dairy Queen from a long way away. And so
Somebody said they don't use a lot of red in accounting.
yeah.
Good.
Well, some do.
There is something about color psychology that's really cool. I actually have my degree is in graphic design, so I studied color theory and color psychology and how we associate different colors with different things. Like you think of the primary colors, you think of the superheroes, right? You have the reds, the blues, the yellows. You also can think of like fast food chains, and those colors are chosen for specific reasons. I do notice an interesting trend that we're lacking a lot of color. If you take like 1990 McDonald's, for example, red, yellow, looks like a fun house, the Ronald McDonald outside, and now you're seeing like a gray box with the M logo. So I do see a trend in where we're losing a lot of color. You look at a movie from 1990 or 1980, and the rich colors you see in the backgrounds, and then now you get more like a more taupes and grays and beiges. That is something that's very interesting in our psychology lately is like, okay, we're choosing colors. We're not using the bright colors anymore. Everything is more of a neutral palette. So I do find that very intriguing of color trends over the years and how brands respond to those color trends and also how they like maybe will lose a bit of their identity with the current color trends being very, very flat. It's very flat. So, but yeah, that's something I've been just kind of geeking out about recently. So yeah, color is so important.
There's a picture online of the house from Home Alone in the 90s, and then like it's remodeled now, and it looks but back then they had the wallpaper and there's green and red, and the house is remodeled, like all the walls are white, everything is great, and you look at cars, like in the 80s. I mean, our family vehicle was a Suburban that was two-tone red and beige. And I'm like, where's the two-tone red and beige Escalade today? You don't have it. Everything's black or gray or white. And and you see that with marketing always follows those trends. So all of a sudden, hopefully it'll swing back, and 10 years from now we'll just look back in the 20s and say everything's so bland back then. Look at all the color now.
New products. A lot of new products come out of Boulder, where my office is. Lots of entrepreneurs live there, and so I've seen like it's new-ish from the UK, a beverage called Something or Nothing, and we only print on a pastel shirt. So it's a baby blue or a hot baby soft pink, but pushed hot. Like, so I also have, I mean, it just depends. I think it's a carbonated tropical drink, and you can't get it at HEB, but you can get it at like Whole Foods or World Market. And so it's just, and they're doing sampling. We've done shirts for sampling all over the US this summer. And so only will put on like almost like this teal shirt or like the pink on her. So I think it just also depends on the product.
Right.
Yeah. So they're pushing a tropical, refreshing, so their promotional good is supporting what they're trying to get people to see. So at the grocery store, when you see them, they're in a, fun teal shirt. So people are like, oh, maybe I want to go taste that. What is it? You know what I mean?
And it's tough from a brand perspective to you don't want to be like so out there that you're just, you're an accounting firm, but you're all, like I said, everybody's wearing hula skirts or something. I mean, it would be weird, but at the same time, you just see it where everybody follows a trend, and you've got to differentiate yourself some way, and you want to feel like, okay, we're up with the times, but there needs to be something out there that's just a little different than what everybody else is doing, because you see it. I always say this: about 10 years ago, you could tell whatever marketing consultant was using the term synergy. We got to have more synergy. And then every trademark application from clients that year was, we're going to be Synergy Associates. We're going to be Synergy. Everybody wanted to put in their name. And then the next big trend comes along and everybody wants to, the first couple people do it and it's successful. And then 1,000 other companies want to do it. And you've got to kind of fight that trend to say, well, this is where the whole market is going. Well, yes, maybe the whole market is going there, but you're not a flock. You want to stand out. You've got to be, not necessarily if the market's over here, you need to be over here. But if everybody's clustered here, you got to have something that's just a little off axis.
And I think this ties together a lot of things that have been said by all our speakers today, and that is, figure out who you are, your business, whatever, best represents that color, brand, whatever else, and then just stick with it, commit to it, like Kay was saying, believe in yourself, have that confidence. So what Jason was describing is exactly, somebody does it, it's a hit, everybody else is a follower. You don't want to be the follower. You want to be the one that stays steady, that's out. This is who we are. And we believe in ourselves. We're not following all the different trends, which if you think about it, looks a little, kind of needy or like you're a little, have a lack of confidence, and if you step back and think of it that way, that it just figure out who your business is, what brand represents, work with the right people, take the time to figure out the branding that represents who you want your business to be and what's important about your business, what sets you apart, what your values are, whatever it is that distinguishes you, that was what you want to be your selling point, and say, this is why you should hire us or buy from us instead of our competitors, and just stick with it, invest in it, and don't be following all the little trends.
Oh yeah, when I was teaching entrepreneurship, one thing that always sets me apart, and I always talk about with the startups and everything that I work with, or they're trying to be different in entrepreneurship. It's like you don't have to be really different to stand out. For me, my nails make me different. Well, now my
And your
glasses.
glasses. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, my nails, because I never have all 10 nails the same color. They're always different colors. You just have to do something a little different. It doesn't have to be drastically. It
Yes,
can be
good
very
point.
subtle.
Yes,
Right. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, I didn't realize my green glasses became a brand until I would go places and they go, oh, I remember you. I remember your glasses. It's like, I'm Jana.
That was something that I wanted to add on to what Gretchen said, like when you're preparing or beginning your business, invest in setting it up right. And I want to encourage everybody to also, like, when you're getting your logo created, you want it in vector format. You want it with the PMS color, your Pantone colors identified. Your graphic artist should be providing you. They should also provide it in CMYK, and they can also provide it in hex color. So when you're getting your information, because not every when you recreate it, it is used, different files are used to recreate it differently. And whoever you use, and you should invest into a graphic artist or a firm to help you, ask you the right questions and get you dialed in. And then I want to always encourage anybody is at some point along the line, ask yourself, how will this look embroidered? Because I get a lot of logos that cannot be reproduced in embroidery. And we can do it, we'll do it in a patch, but maybe you don't want your image only reproduced as a patch. So it's, I like to encourage people to at some point think, will I be embroidering this on a polo shirt, a tote bag, a beanie? And then how clear, how is the image? Does it have, but your graphic artist should be providing you your artwork in these different formats in your zip, compressed zip file for you to have access to, not only in full color, but also in white, black, and grayscale. So you should have them already at your in your wheelhouse or your toolbox to have when you're ready to reproduce anything.
And this is a great jumping off point for something legal. And I think Gretchen, you'll
Oh,
want to
that's
jump
where I was gonna go
in
next.
too,
Okay, good.
is when you're using someone outside of your company to develop your brand, make sure you have an agreement in place as to who owns that, because we run into that a lot where people will come to me, I've got a new brand, I want you to register it. Okay, who came up with this? Oh, don't worry, they're a vendor. Okay, do you have a work for hire agreement? Do you, and a lot of times they don't. And, that could be a situation. Oh, he's a friend of mine, he developed it. Well, if your brand blows up and it's the next McDonald's, that company's going to say all of a sudden, hey, we designed this, we own this, and so make sure before you're having companies develop your brand, especially if you're using AI, things like that. A lot of times, open AI could claim ownership. And so you have to make sure you check in terms of service, and you've got agreements in place that anything developed is your company's and it doesn't belong to, the vendor who's helping you.
Yeah, that was my
Yeah.
very next question about how do you protect your brand? So since we have Gretchen here as a lawyer as well, how else what are other ways that we can protect our brand?
Aside from the brand itself, if we think of the brand as the trademark, if you expand a little bit and think of it as the business as a whole, kind of your brand in a way is your entire business. I want to go back to the investment point is in that it really is, it's a lot easier, smoother, less stressful, and less expensive to do something right the first time than it is to go back and try to clean up, or worst case scenario, what Jason was just describing, you'll end up in a battle with somebody, especially if they've got deeper pockets than you do. And I really, really encourage, I know there's a lot to do when you're starting off a business, but I really encourage everybody to budget for the branding, the brand protection. So checking for the brand, Jason can talk to this too, but making sure that the trademark, the logo, or the words that you choose as your trademark or your brand are not similar enough to something that's already out there and used that you might be unintentionally infringing somebody else's work. Make sure that you've got to have somebody legal on your team to make sure that you've got all the contracts and whatever else you need in place to make sure the business owns everything that you think it does. Make sure that it's the business and not you individually. Make sure that whatever kind of partners you have, you document what that relationship is and what everybody's rights, responsibilities are. It's, nobody goes into business with somebody else, whether it's literally like a co-owner of your business or somebody that you hire like Gladdy to help you with your branding. It's nobody goes into those relationships thinking it's going to go bad, right? You wouldn't do it otherwise. But you need that. It's when it goes bad that you need all that legal stuff in place. And again, it's so much. It may not be easy and it may not be cheap, but it is easier and cheaper to do it right from the start than it is to deal with problems after they arise.
Well, to emphasize that, it could kill your business.
It can, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Jason mentioned before, just if you get into a legal battle over a trademark, that alone can end up tens, even, $100,000 more if things go really bad. And that can be true for any given legal situation. And if you haven't done things right from the beginning, it may be that you're not on the winning side in any given dispute with whoever. You may just be, it may be that because whatever wasn't done right, the other guy really has the upper hand in this. And if it were to go to a trial, which hardly ever happens, any kind of dispute is 90 something percent of civil cases settle out before trial because trial is expensive, it takes a long time, all that. But you have to think in those terms. it could be that you're in a situation where, regardless of your best intentions and thinking you did things the right way, it turns out that you really didn't. If you were to go to trial, a judge would say, I'm really sorry, but the other guy is the one who wins in this case.
And a lot of times people are always worried about these third parties stealing us, and they're not looking at the internal
Excellent
people.
point.
And
Yes.
one of the best examples, I think, like Kay, dealing with music groups, some of the biggest trademark battles we have are among bands that break up. You know, you're Guns N' Roses, you come up with the name in a basement, you're all friends, you're Axl Rose and you're Slash, and you love it. And, you know, so then all of a sudden you go register the trademark. Well, who came up? Well, we all kind of came up with it. Well, then all of a sudden, when Slash and Axl Rose hate each other, well, okay, see you later, I'm Guns N' Roses. And the other was like, no, see you later, I'm Guns N' Roses. And they're fighting over who came up with it because they didn't get a plan in place. They didn't say who owned it. And, you know, it's that internal, it's the people who are on your team now, the people that you are working with that, you know, I think sometimes people just look past. They're always looking at the outside world taking our IP. And it's like, no, you know, when the brand splits up, when people go their separate ways, you need to get those agreements in place before
Yep.
that's a problem.
So
Yeah.
Gladdy, we're gonna have to do that really soon. So that you don't try to steal my brand.
That is a really great point. It's, you know, you think about the internal, like who you're working with, set yourself up for success for any case scenario. Another thing to look at, I always encourage my artists and other brands as well, is definitely look at what's out there. Don't just pick a name willy-nilly. Research, check the database. Is this name already taken? This comes up a lot in the music industry because everybody picks a stage name. You know, they'll pick a DJ name and then you're finding, oh my gosh, there's like 6 guys named, I don't know, like Propaganda, for example. I know an artist named Propaganda. He uses 2 Ps. Super great guy. But like he's never had issues. He just popped into my head. But like you have to think about your name. Think about who's out there who already has it. So I looked at Coyote for my own artist name. And there was a Coyote is a producer out of Germany. And so I'm like, you know, I'm just going to stick with K Coté. It's already branded, it's already associated with everything else I'm working with. I'm going to keep it simple, not overcomplicate it, add another brand to what I've already built. And so those are a couple of tips too, is like look at your internal world, who you're working with, look externally at your competitors, other people in the market, so you're not going to run into those clashes where it could become a legal issue. And then also keep it simple. It doesn't have to be over the top. Like keep something that has longevity, number one.
Yes.
And
Good
it
point.
really is
Longevity
something
should
that
be the focus.
yeah, and it really is something that an attorney is very useful for, because clients come to us all the time and they say, oh, nobody else is using this. And then I will go on in 5 minutes and find out, like I said, okay, there's a guy in Ohio, there's a guy in Maine, there's a guy, you know, there's always somebody out there. It's a huge market. And then all the other people are like, oh, I did a search and I found all these other ones. I'm like, you're always going to find something else. But a lot of times we'll find out, oh, well, this is just a mom and pop guy. They've had some LLC registered for 20 years, but they haven't done anything on it. And, you know, best we can tell, they did $1,000 in revenue in the last 10 years. They're probably not a problem. Those are things where I think that, you know, getting, you know, a professional to help you with at first, you know, never assume that it's someone else isn't using it. I guarantee you someone else is using it. The question is, how much is it really a problem? Is the risk something that you know, can give you a good advice on? So you know, don't, that's the hard part to kind of try to do yourself just by hopping on Google or something like that. So,
You know what? We just ran out of time. I can't believe it. This all went so quickly. I was thinking like, oh, 30 minutes have gone by. But I want to thank everyone for being here today. I want to especially thank our panelists here today. Thank you, Kay, Gladdy, Gretchen, Bill, Martha, and Jason, and me. No, who cares about it? Anyway, forget about me. Anyway, but thank you. You all, just like you that are here, my panelists, they're all very successful people, and they could be doing other things, and they chose to be with me today, and I cannot express my gratitude enough. But we're going to be back next month, September 21st at 9:30 Central Time. And our next Strategic Value Master Theory session will be on family business dynamics and succession planning.
Oh, wow.
Oh, talk about salt in the wound. But that's always a great discussion as well. But thank you everyone to be here. And there's so many other questions I have for everybody here today, but thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to everybody that was here on the panel as our guests here. Thank you.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
So